Welcome to the Power of Transformation with Dr. BEGO, where faith meets declaration and purpose ignites breakthrough. Each episode empowers you to speak life, renew your mind, and walk boldly in who God says you are. Your transformation starts now. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Power of Transformation. I'm Dr. BEGO, and in this episode, we're going to be discussing daily declarations for financial abundance. What does it mean, one, to be wealthy, and two, what does it mean to live in abundance? You see, we've already laid the foundation of what it means to speak wealth through declarations. We've also addressed that the mindset is so pivotal, that the mindset is required so that we may steward the increase that is being promised to us. So today we're going to bring it all together, because what you think and what you say must also be in alignment if you want to experience the change or the transformation. Abundance is not accidental. It is not coincidental. It is not based upon happenstance. It is not something that just shows up on occasion or when it is not prompted. No, abundance is what we have to cultivate on a daily basis. And we cultivate abundance through our declarations. We cultivate abundance through our daily practices of discipline. We cultivate abundance through what we believe to be true, although we do not see it or experience it. So let's get right into it. Because the question becomes, why do daily declarations around abundance matter? Why do they matter as it relates to how we want to live financially, or how we want to develop this prosperous life? They matter because daily declarations are not wishful thinking. They are intentional in their alignment. It is taking what you want, although you do not see it, although you do not have it, although you do not experience it. It is believing it enough that you can speak it into existence. It is making a declaration. It's different than an affirmation, because an affirmation gives you credibility. It brings credence to what you already know to be true. A declaration is different. A declaration is you speaking into existence what you want to be true. And the truth of the matter is that every day you speak declarations. Every day you speak them, but most of the time they are spoken in a negative light. You tell yourself, I'm behind. You tell yourself, I'll never catch up. You tell yourself that money disappears faster than you can make it. You tell yourself that you're not good with finances. Those are also declarations. They are negative declarations that begin to channel your view, your perspective, your belief, to bring you to the place and the posture of recognizing, or at least believing, that you would not have. These are what are known as unspoken thoughts. And I want to caution you around unspoken thoughts, because unspoken thoughts have a way of shaping your behavior. You don't say them out loud to your spouse. You don't stand up in the congregation and testify. No, it's the internal voice that plays this record over and over again, that you will not have, that you cannot manage, and that you are not a good steward. But daily financial declarations, they give you a different perspective, because they begin to interpret the negative self-talk. That when you begin to speak these declarations, you begin to reframe how you view money. You begin to build confidence that aligns with your discipline. What happens is these declarations begin to reinforce a kingdom truth over your own internal false narrative. That you have been living in deception for so long as it relates to your financial prosperity that you believe it. You believe it because you have internalized it. You believe it because you have spoken it to yourself over and over again like a scratch record. When you begin to speak daily declarations around financial prosperity, when you begin to speak daily declarations about financial abundance, you begin to recite kingdom principles that are truth over the lie that you're living. You don't rise to the level of your income. You do not say, I want and therefore I'll go work for it. No, you rise to the level of your beliefs and your habits. It does not matter if you make $50,000 or $100,000. What matters is your belief and your habits around the money that you make. Because you can make $100,000 and still be broke. You can have all the money on your paycheck and at the end of the year still be broke. You can make $50,000. You can make $24,000 and be a good steward, a good financial planner, a good saver, a good investor, and still be wealthy. Because these declarations help you speak what is known as intentionality instead of being reactive. What does it mean to be intentional? To be intentional in our savings, to be intentional in investing, to be intentional in giving, to be intentional in sowing, so that you can also be in a posture to reap. See, when you are reactive, then you're always trying to catch up. When you are reactive, then you're always in this grind mode. When you are reactive, you are letting something external dictate your responsibilities. That's why abundance is biblical. That you were not designed. You were not created. God did not save you, position you, promise you so you can be broke, so that you can lack and be without. Because throughout scripture, God speaks about the abundance for God's people. You see, in Proverbs chapter 10, God declares blessings bring wealth with no sorrow. In Psalms 35, God takes pleasure in the prosperity of his people. In 2 Corinthians chapter 9, God supplies abundantly. Do you see where we're going? That throughout the text, God makes references of how God supplies the needs of God's own people. That you are not to want and lack anything. That you are not to be poor. That you are not to be without. Why? Because God takes care of God's own people. Therefore, abundance is not about access. So what do you mean? That living an abundant life isn't about having what you can afford to lose. Living in an abundance is not having money that you can blow. Living in abundance doesn't mean that you don't have to count your money, that you got so much of it, that whatever it is, it is. Who's counting? No. Living in the abundance is not about excess. Living in the abundance is about capacity. You see, whenever you live an abundant life, it is measured by your capacity to handle the blessing that is meant for you. Do you have the capacity to give freely? Do you have the capacity to save wisely? Do you have the capacity to invest responsibly? Do you have the capacity to support your family? Do you have the capacity to advance God's work? Do you have the capacity to live without constant anxiety? That's what abundant living means. Jesus says that I come not only that you may have life, that you may have life abundantly. Abundance deals with your capacity to handle, your capacity to manage, your capacity to steward resources that do not belong to you. That whatever it is that you have, can you honor the one who gave it to you by managing the resources properly? That's capacity. Because daily declarations help us move out of the shame. You did not mismanage what was yours. You mismanaged what belonged to God. You did not spend your money. You spent God's money. You didn't waste your resource. You wasted God's resource. And so when you begin to speak the daily declarations about abundance and financial wealth, what you are saying is that I am replacing my lifestyle with purpose. That what you have, purpose is attached to it. And how you manage it will determine whether or not you get more of it. Because truth of the matter, if you can't handle what's in left, you won't be able to manage what's in your right. And if both hands are full, then you certainly cannot stand an expectation of receiving more. So how do declarations shape our financial discipline? Declarations, they don't just change your mindset. The purpose of declaration, one, is to change your mindset. But secondly, it is also to change your behavior. When you speak the declaration, you begin to internalize, accept, believe what you are saying about yourself, and you begin to live it out in your behavior. So you tell yourself, you may be the worst person with money, but tell yourself, I'm disciplined with money. You may not be able to keep money longer than it's been given to you, but tell yourself, I'm disciplined with money. And guess what will begin to happen? You begin to pause before you spend. When you declare, I steward my resources wisely, guess what will begin to happen? You start planning rather than living reactionary. So you don't wait until the last month before you make plans. You plan months out because now you're scheduling in advance. And what does that do? That help you save in your spending. When you declare, I have clarity and self-control, that's important. Because when you go to the store, you do no longer engage in impulse buying. You know how they like to put all of the trinkets by the register and say they on sale or clearance or discount, and it looks so good, although you don't need it, although you don't have it, you want it because it looks like it's a good deal. See, when you begin to practice clarity and self-control, you recognize that all things that look good are not good. That's why declarations are so important. Because declarations begin to reinforce your budgeting. They reinforce your savings. They reinforce your investing. They reinforce your long-term spending. And when you begin to practice the declarations, you start managing money emotionally and start managing money intentionally. Get your emotions out of your money. Don't buy it because it makes you feel good. Don't purchase it because it looks good. No, purchase with intentionality. How does this build? How does this develop? How does this restore? How does this increase? And that's what the declarations are designed to do, because abundance grows wherever discipline lives. So let's practice for a moment a couple of financial declarations. Every morning when you get up, before you check your email or the news or the social media, begin to make some declarations around a new truth. Whatever it is, I declare today I'm going to save more than I spent. Declare it. Before the end of the day, I'm going to buy additional stocks and bonds. Declare it. Before 12 noon, I'm going to set up a new account on a virtual app. Make the declaration true before you do anything else. Speak before you spend. Because before making any type of purchase, here's what I like to do. Before I make any major purchase, I give myself at least 3 days to decide. I might go into the store, I may see something that I want, but I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not filled with anxiety or pressure from salespeople, because ultimately they do not control my discipline. Nothing controls your discipline but you. And so you have to speak before you spend. Before you make a purchase, speak with clarity. Declarations, make it slow, impulse, sharpen your wisdom. Declare even over your work. That whatever the assignment you're working on your job, whatever the homework is you're doing for school, or whether the business project or the grant, begin to speak God's favor over it. Begin to declare that the work that you're working on is an excellent work. Begin to speak that this is an opportunity. Speak over your own labor. And you have to also make declarations during stress. Stress is key, because whenever anxiety rises, you have to begin to declare peace and provision. You see, anxiety deals with the unexpected. Anxiety deals with what you do not see. It's what you anticipate may or may not happen. Anxiety is future oriented. And so as you are walking in your purpose, as you are aligning your destiny, you have to declare peace and provision. That whatever the assignment is, that it is something that you can handle because you know the truth that is attached to it. Here's the last thing. The last thing you need to do about your declaration is you need to write and repeat. Whatever it is financially that you are believing and hoping and trusting God for, whatever in your life that is out of alignment, it is not aligned to your purpose. Whatever you are speaking a new truth over, you have to write it and repeat it. You have to write the declaration so it becomes deep in your belief system, and repetition strengthens your consistency. Why is that so important? Because consistency matters more than intensity. It's not about how much you do. It's about how consistent you are in doing it. It's not about how heavy the load is that you can carry. What's important is that you're able to carry the load. It is about changing the way that you see the world and changing your outlook on your finances. How long can you make a dollar stretch? It's more important than how much the dollar is worth. Because if you can make it stretch, it can outlast any financial hardship that you endure. So let's make some declarations. Let's make a financial declaration that brings abundance in our life. I want you to repeat after me. Say, I declare that I walk in God's abundance and I walk in God's provision. Write that down. Let's say it again. I declare that I walk in God's abundance and I walk in God's provision. I want you to get out a paper. I want you to get out a pad. I want you to get out your phone. I want you to open up your notes app. I want you to text it to a couple of people. And simply say, I declare that I walk in God's abundance and I walk in God's provision. I want you to say that to yourself. Whenever you're getting ready to pay bills, whenever you're getting ready to make a financial purchase, whenever you're going into the grocery store, whenever you're going to wherever you're going, I want you to declare that you walk in God's abundance and that you walk in God's provision. Say it daily. Say it consistently. Say it until your habits align with your faith. Because abundance is not about chasing more. Abundance, it is about stewarding well what God has already placed in your hands. Every declaration, every one that you speak is shaping your future. Every disciplined decision that you make is planting a seed. Every moment of intentionality is preparing you for increase. So you are not behind. You are not incapable. You are not disqualified. You are learning, you are growing, and you are becoming. You are learning new things about yourself, your relationship with God and God's word. You are growing each and every day as a purpose and destiny. You are becoming what God has intended for you to be. And as your word aligns with God's truth, your life will begin to reflect God's provision. So say your declarations. Say them until you see the transformation take place. Until next time, may God bless you, may the Lord keep you, and may heaven continue to smile upon you. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to The Power of Transformation. If today's episode blessed you, share it with someone you love. Don't forget to subscribe and stay connected for more tools to declare, believe, and become. Until next time, keep speaking life.